The message glowed on my phone screen like a poison dagger. Can't wait to get rid of her. She's too stupid to notice anything anyway. Soon it'll be just us, baby. My husband Tom had accidentally sent it to me instead of Natalie. 3 years of marriage reduced to a careless text message mistake. I sat in our pristine kitchen, the one I'd spent months decorating to his exact specifications. The granite countertops he'd insisted on still had that perfect shine. Everything in its proper place, just like he wanted. Just like I'd always tried to be. My fingers hovered over the phone. Delete it? Confront him? Instead, I took a screenshot and changed my WhatsApp name to Natalie. "Oh, Tom," I typed back, my hands trembling. "I've been waiting so long to hear that." The response came instantly. "I'll make it worth the wait. Daisy won't know what hit her when I'm done." I watched the three dots dance as he typed more messages, each one more damning than the last. Plans for our divorce. Schemes to access my family's money. Jokes about my trust in him. The kitchen suddenly felt too small, too perfect, too false. Like our marriage. Like everything. "You're so good to me, baby," I wrote, tasting bile. "Tell me more about your plans." And he did. Oh, how he did. Every message was another nail in the coffin of our marriage, but also a weapon I could use. The irony wasn't lost on me. His desire to hurt me was giving me exactly what I needed to destroy him. My phone buzzed again. "Meeting with the lawyer next week. She won't see it coming." I laughed then, a harsh sound that echoed off the expensive appliances he'd convinced me we needed. "No, darling," I whispered to the empty kitchen. "You're the one who won't see it coming." Standing up, I walked to our bedroom, our perfect, tasteful bedroom, and opened my laptop. Time to email my own lawyer. Time to document everything. Time to plan. Tom thought I was stupid, thought I was weak. He'd spent years carefully constructing that image of me, hadn't he? The devoted wife who gave up her career for him. The trusting fool who never questioned his late nights at the office. Well, he was about to learn something about me. Something that Natalie and all the others who came before her would learn too. I'm not stupid. I'm not weak. And I'm definitely not forgiving. I opened a new document and began to type. The first line read, "Evidence of Thomas Carter's infidelity and financial fraud. Let the games begin." Claire's pristine dining room always made me feel like an intruder. The antique china cabinet watched me accusingly as I helped her set the table, each piece of silverware placed with military precision. "Thomas tells me you've been distant lately," she said, adjusting a fork I'd just laid down. "He's worried about you." The porcelain plate in my hands nearly slipped. Of course he'd gotten to her first. I forced a smile. "Really? That's strange. We had such a lovely evening together just yesterday." Claire's perfectly manicured fingers paused over the crystal glasses. "Did you?" He mentioned working late at the office. Must have been a different day I'm thinking of. I kept my voice light, watching her face for any reaction. "You know how time blends together when you're happy." She made that sound, that little that had grated on my nerves for 3 years. Marriage requires sacrifice, Daisy. Especially with someone as ambitious as Thomas. Sometimes I wonder if you truly understand that. I thought about the marketing career I'd abandoned, the friends I'd lost touch with, the way I'd molded myself into Tom's perfect wife. "Oh, I understand sacrifice perfectly, Claire." The doorbell rang. Tom's voice floated in from the foyer, followed by the click of expensive shoes on hardwood. He appeared in the doorway, all perfect teeth and calculated charm. "My two favorite women," he announced, kissing his mother's cheek before turning to me. His lips brushed my forehead, and it took everything I had not to flinch. "Darling," I said, meeting his eyes. "I was just telling Claire about our lovely evening together yesterday." Something flickered across his face, so brief anyone else would have missed it. But I'd become an expert at reading those micro-expressions. "Must have been dreaming, sweetheart. I was stuck at the office until 9, remember?" "Oh, that's right." I touched his arm, feeling him tense slightly under my fingers. "I must be thinking of another night. They all blur together when you work such long hours." Claire cleared her throat. "Thomas, dear, tell Daisy about that wonderful investment opportunity you mentioned. The one with the new development." My hand tightened imperceptibly on his sleeve. This was new. "What investment?" What development? Actually, Tom said smoothly, that's still in the early stages. Nothing worth discussing yet. I smiled, thinking of the screenshots saved in my phone, the growing file on my laptop. But darling, you know how much I love hearing about your work. Every little detail fascinates me. His jaw clenched for a fraction of a second. Later, sweetheart. Let's not bore Mother with business talk. Claire beamed at him, proud mama bear protecting her cub. If she only knew what that cub was planning. Of course, I said, releasing his arm. We'll have plenty of time to discuss everything. All the time in the world. The private investigator's office smelled like stale coffee and secrets. Marcus Shaw spread photographs across his desk, each one a fresh wound in my chest. Your husband's been busy, Mrs. Carter. He tapped one photo showing Tom entering a hotel, Natalie close behind. But Miss Brooks isn't the whole story. I picked up another photo. Tom at a different hotel, different woman. The timestamp showed last Tuesday, the night he texted about working late on the Robertson deal. There's more. Marcus slid a manila envelope toward me. Financial records. Your husband's been moving money around, setting up shell companies. That development project he's working on, it's designed to fail. The investors lose everything while he walks away with millions. My family's investment firm was listed as the primary backer. Dad had trusted Tom, had welcomed him like a son. And this, Marcus paused, his weathered face showing rare hesitation. You should prepare yourself. The next photo knocked the air from my lungs. Samantha, my best friend, the one who'd helped me pick out my wedding dress. When? My voice sounded distant, hollow. 6 months ago. It ended before the thing with Brooks started. I remembered Samantha's sudden distance, her excuses for missing our weekly coffee dates, the way she'd avoided my eyes at Emily's baby shower. My phone buzzed. Tom, asking about dinner plans. Such a thoughtful husband, always checking in. There's one more thing, Marcus said, pulling out a final document. Your husband's been meeting with divorce attorneys. High-powered ones. He's building a case to claim your family's money was used to fund his business ventures. He's going after controlling interest in your father's company. The pieces clicked together. Tom's questions about Dad's business, his sudden interest in our family trust. Claire's mention of investment opportunities. Mrs. Carter? Marcus leaned forward. What do you want to do with all this? I stood up, gathering the photos and documents. Keep watching him. I need to know everything. Where he goes, who he meets, what he plans. Especially about this development project. And the women? Those two. I paused at the door. One more thing, I need you to look into Samantha Reed. Not just her connection to Tom. Everything. That'll cost extra. I thought about Samantha's tearful toast at my wedding, about Tom's hands on her in that photo. Bill me. Outside my phone buzzed again. Tom, missing you, sweetheart. Special dinner tonight. I typed back, can't wait. I have so much to tell you. The lies felt natural now. I learned from the best. Evan's apartment hadn't changed since college. Same mismatched furniture, same collection of vintage movie posters. It felt like the only honest place left in my world. You need to slow down, Daisy. He pushed a cup of coffee across his kitchen counter. This revenge thing, it's consuming you. I pulled out my phone, showing him the latest texts between Natalie and Tom. He's planning to destroy my family's company. My father built that business from nothing. And you're building evidence to destroy him. Evan's voice carried no judgment, just concern. But at what cost? My hands shook as I opened Marcus's latest report. Look at this. 3 shell companies, all connected to the development project. Tom's been siphoning investor funds for months. Does your father know? If I tell him now, Tom will know I'm onto him. I rubbed my temples. I need more time. Evan reached across the counter, closing the file. When's the last time you slept? Really slept? The question caught me off guard. I couldn't remember. You're turning into him, Days. Calculating every move, playing people like chess pieces. I'm nothing like... My phone buzzed. Another message from Tom. Baby can't wait for tonight. Daisy's visiting her sister this weekend. We'll have the house to ourselves. I hadn't planned any sister visit. He's bringing her to our house. My voice cracked. Our bed. Evan moved around the counter, but before he could reach me, another message appeared. Not from Tom this time. Samantha, we need to talk. It's about Tom. Please. Interesting timing, Evan said, reading over my shoulder. She knows I know. I stood up, gathering my things. She must have figured it out. Wait, Evan caught my arm. What if it's a trap? What if Tom suspects something? I thought about the careful web I'd been weaving, how one wrong move could unravel everything. I have to know. I headed for the door. Besides, I've got a few questions for my dear friend Samantha. Daisy. Evan's voice stopped me. Just remember who you are. The real you, not this person you're becoming. I looked back at him, at the worry in his eyes. The real me died the moment I saw those messages. Tom killed her. No. He shook his head. The real you is stronger than ever. That's what scares me. I left without responding, my mind already racing with possibilities. Was Samantha reaching out from guilt? Or was this Tom's first countermove? Either way, I was done being the trusting fool. It was time to find out just how deep this betrayal went. The cafe where I'd arranged to meet Samantha was crowded enough for privacy but public enough for safety. I arrived early, setting up my phone to record, positioning myself where I could see both entrances. She walked in 10 minutes late, designer handbag clutched like a shield. The confident swagger I remembered was gone. You look terrible, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. 3 years of lies will do that. I kept my voice steady. How long were you sleeping with my husband? Her coffee cup clattered against the saucer. He told you. He didn't have to. She reached for my hand. I pulled back. It wasn't God, Daisy, I never meant. She glanced around, lowering her voice. Tom's not who you think he is. The development project? It's worse than you know. My phone buzzed. Tom, missing you already. Can't wait for our weekend. I showed her the message. Interesting. Since according to Tom, I'm visiting my sister this weekend. Color drained from her face. You're Natalie? Not exactly. I leaned forward. But I know about her. And the others. And the money. Listen to me. Her voice cracked. Tom knows. He's suspected for weeks. That's why I'm here to warn you. The cafe suddenly felt too warm, too small. What do you mean he knows? He's been watching you. The private investigator? Tom had him followed. He knows everything. My carefully constructed plan started crumbling. You're lying. Check your house. Really check it. He's got cameras everywhere. She stood up, hands shaking. I'm sorry, Daisy. For everything. But you need to be careful. Tom's not just planning to take your family's money, he's planning to destroy you completely. She hurried out, leaving me with cold coffee and colder fear. At home, I searched room by room. In our bedroom, behind the mirror, a tiny camera. In the kitchen, another. The office, 3 more. My phone buzzed again. A message from Natalie. But I was Natalie. I had been for weeks. The message contained a single photo me, at the private investigator's office, holding the damning photographs. Another message followed. Game over, sweetheart. Did you really think you could beat me at my own game? I deleted the messages, hands trembling. Then I called Evan. I need somewhere to stay. Don't ask questions. Just, can you help? Always, he said without hesitation. But Daisy? Whatever you're planning, be sure it's worth it. I looked around our perfect house, with its hidden cameras and hollow promises. It's not about worth anymore, I said. It's about survival. 6 months of careful planning collapsed in 5 minutes. Tom stood in our kitchen. Divorce papers spread across the granite countertop he'd once insisted we needed, smiling like he'd already won. You should have seen this coming, sweetheart. He pushed the papers toward me. Sign them. It'll be easier. I traced the edge of the counter, remembering all the meals I'd prepared here while he worked late with clients. What about Natalie? My voice stayed steady. Will it be easier for her too? His smile flickered. Don't make this ugly, Daisy. Ugly. I pulled out my phone, showing him the screenshots. Like these messages? Or the hotel receipts? Or maybe the shell companies you created to steal my family's money. The kitchen temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Tom's face hardened. Clever girl. He picked up my phone, scrolling through the evidence. But not clever enough. Check your email. My laptop was still open on the counter. New message from Claire Carter, forwarded to our entire family. Screenshots of conversations between Natalie and Tom, conversations I'd manufactured, trying to trap him. But somehow he'd twisted them, made it look like I was the unstable one, inventing affairs, harassing his coworkers. Your mother must be devastated, he said, watching me read. Her only daughter having a mental breakdown. Imagining conspiracies. Stalking innocent people. They'll never believe. They already do. He pulled out another document. Your father signed over control of the company's investment division to me this morning. To protect the family interests, of course. From you. The room started spinning. Everything I'd gathered, every piece of evidence, he'd somehow turned it all against me. You really thought you could beat me? He moved closer, his cologne suffocating. I made you, Daisy. The perfect wife, the perfect facade. You think anyone will believe you over me? My phone buzzed. Messages flooding in, family members, friends, all concerned about my mental state. Even Evan. We need to talk about getting you help. I'll make sure you're taken care of, Tom said softly, almost kindly. A quiet divorce, a generous settlement. Maybe a nice private facility to help you recover. I looked at my reflection in the window, the woman I'd become, trying to beat Tom at his own game. Maybe he was right. Maybe I had lost myself. Then I saw it in the garden beyond my reflection. Samantha, standing by the roses I'd planted our first summer here. She nodded once, holding up her phone. I turned back to Tom, who was still watching me with that victorious smile. You're right, I said. You did make me. And that was your biggest mistake. Check your email, Tom. I watched his face as he reached for his phone. The real Natalie just sent you something interesting. His smug expression froze as he opened the message. Through the kitchen window, I saw Samantha slip away from the roses. Her part played perfectly. You recorded everything. His voice was barely a whisper. Not me. Natalie did. Turns out she didn't appreciate being your backup plan. I moved closer, matching his earlier condescending tone. She especially didn't like hearing about how you planned to blame her for the missing investor funds. The phone in his hand buzzed again. And again. His face paled with each new message. The SEC is particularly interested in those shell companies, I continued. Dad didn't sign over control of anything this morning. He was too busy meeting with federal investigators. Tom lunged for the divorce papers, but I snatched them first. Looking for these? I had my lawyer draw them up weeks ago. You're right, I should sign them. I pulled out a pen, signing with a flourish. Oh, and those screenshots you sent to everyone? Samantha's already explained how you manipulated them. Amazing what a guilty conscience can do. You stupid, he grabbed my arm, but I twisted away. Careful, Tom. The cameras are still running. Your cameras. I nodded toward the hidden devices he'd planted. I just changed who they're streaming to. His carefully constructed facade cracked. The charming mask fell away, revealing something ugly underneath. You really think anyone will believe you? I still have. Nothing. I cut him off. You have nothing. Check your accounts. He frantically pulled up his banking app. The color drained from his face. Amazing what a paper trail can reveal, I said. Every fraudulent transfer, every stolen dollar. The FBI is probably at your office right now. I'll tell them you were involved, he snarled. That you helped plan everything. With what proof? The evidence shows I'm just another victim of your schemes. Along with Natalie, Samantha, and all the others who've come forward. His phone buzzed again. Claire's name appeared on the screen. You should answer that, I said. Your mother's just received some interesting documents about her beloved son. Tom stared at me, really seeing me for the first time. Not the perfect wife he'd tried to create, but the woman who'd finally outplayed him. You destroyed everything, he whispered. No, Tom. I walked to the door, pausing to look back at him, a broken man in an empty kitchen. You did that all by yourself. I just made sure everyone could see it. The movers carried out the last of Tom's designer furniture while I packed up the kitchen. Under a stack of cookbooks, I found an envelope I'd missed during the initial clear-out. Tom's handwriting, dated 3 years ago. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a crumpled receipt from our first date and a letter. Daisy, I don't deserve you. Every day I wake up terrified you'll realize that. Sometimes I look at you and can't breathe. You're so bright, so capable. Everyone loves you instantly. While I'm just pretending, always pretending. Maybe if I work harder, become more successful, I'll finally feel worthy. Until then, I'll keep pretending. It's what I do best. The paper crackled in my grip. Through the window, I watched FBI agents load boxes of evidence into their vehicles. Tom's perfect facade had crumbled completely. The press had already branded him the country club conman. My phone buzzed. Evan, coffee? Not today, I typed back. Need to finish something. I walked through the empty house, remembering the woman I'd been when I first moved in. So desperate to be perfect, to be worthy. Just like Tom. In the master bathroom, I found one of his hidden cameras, still blinking. I plucked it from its hiding spot and dropped it into my pocket. A reminder, perhaps, of how easy it is to lose yourself while watching others. The doorbell rang. Claire stood on the porch, looking older than I'd ever seen her. I came to apologize, she said. Don't. I held up the letter. We all pretended, didn't we? She nodded, understanding passing between us. What will you do now? I thought about the marketing firm that had offered me a partnership, about the empty apartment waiting for me downtown, about revenge and justice and the thin line between them. Live, I said simply. Just live. After she left, I walked to the rose garden. The bushes needed pruning. I'd neglected them while orchestrating Tom's downfall. But underneath the overgrowth, new buds were forming. I pulled out my phone one last time, opening the chat with Natalie. Tom's desperate messages still filled the screen. With 3 taps, I deleted the conversation. The late afternoon sun warmed my face as I walked to my car. In the rearview mirror, I caught a glimpse of movement. Tom's camera in my pocket, its red light still blinking faithfully, recording nothing. I drove away, leaving it behind on the driveway. Let the next owners find it, wonder about it. Some stories are better left unrecorded. Some stories you just have to live.